you so much for that introduction. Let me share my screen here. So Chris talked about this teleological framework that we developed in really creating a launch pad to understanding affect. What I'd like to discuss is how can we use that to then create tools to really help us to understand ourselves. So I developed a novel in-the-moment tracking tool for affect that could then be used on an individual or collective level to really understand emotions in this quantified way. So with that teleological framework that Dr. Lowry presented in place, how can we use this to collect data? How can we use that data to then create more unified theories? And then how can we use those theories to create more insight into us individually? Now, our prior efforts to study human emotions have relied on culturally shared emotion terms and their broad categorization. Now, this creates an amazing tapestry of human emotions, but it makes identification of broad trends really challenging, not to mention the fact that it complicates things statistically. Other efforts have relied on things like facial expressions and behaviors, which are often grounded in cultural expressions of emotions that might not generalize very well when we're looking at things more globally. So the teleological framework of the human affectome creates this elegant and very simple solution to addressing these challenges. Particularly, as Dr. Lowry mentioned, these affective features or the mechanics underlying human emotion includes valence and arousal, and they really lend themselves to simplified data collection in a self-report manner. So in creating a data collection system for affect, I really wanted to be able to capture these affective features while also being able to statistically interpret them across the timescales of affective concerns. So to do this, I really needed a system that allowed for in-the-moment capture of affect. I needed something that was easy to use and that could score affective data for later analysis and visualization. So the pilot system that I developed uses a Google form, but it could very easily be adapted to systems that have higher levels of data privacy and protection. The affect capture system consists of just two questions. What is a participant's current affective valence and arousal? The system then ranks valence and arousal from a -3 to +3 scale. And participants can log their affect at any time of the day whenever they experience a change or a shift. And this allows for the capture of affective information in real time. This data is then timestamped and it's stored in a spreadsheet. Now, using this in-the-moment affective information as a base, I designed a statistical visualization system that could summarize this information in meaningful ways and present it over time. This gives insights into various aspects of affective concerns, as Dr. Lowry discussed, specifically starting with the sensations component. My first goal was to create a 24-hour affective heat map that could display how affect changes along short timescales. So this figure takes each affective feature, it widens it based off of an expansion algorithm that I wrote, and here you can see how affective valence and arousal can shift along a single 24-hour period for this participant. Midnight at the onset of the day is at the top, and then midnight at the conclusion of the day is at the bottom. And what this creates is this color-coded heat map that visually represents how an individual's affect shifts over time. And the more a person logs their affective information, the more granular this visual can become. Over time, we can look at longer trends in human affect. Here we see this affective data covering a 3-month period. However, it's kind of difficult to see trends here as it becomes very much a tapestry of a variety of different colors. So I created a more processed visualization system to look at mean affective values over a single day, which would give us more of an approximation of the moods that Dr. Lowry discussed, those longer timescales. Here we can see the same 3-month period, but with each day plotted as a mean of its individual affective feature, along with standard deviation error bars. So this plot shows this lower frequency trend in mood. And here we can clearly visualize periods of decreased or elevated arousal or valence corresponding to these longer shifts in mood that can change on timescales lasting days or weeks. Finally, I wanted to create a system that could display even these lower frequency trends akin to well-being. And to do this, I wanted to visualize that two-dimensional affect structure that was displayed as the rainbow square at the end of Dr. Lowry's talk, but kind of discretize it as you see in this image. However, using this color scheme in that 24-hour heat map system that I shared earlier doesn't really provide a lot of useful information. It's rather difficult to interpret, kind of looks like a mood ring threw up on itself. So I applied the collected values for arousal and valence to a 2D coordinate system, as you can see here. And this placed valence along the x-axis and arousal along the y-axis. Each of the possible paired affective features would then create this color-coded grid. This grid can then illustrate the affective space that an individual inhabits over a period of time. Here we're looking at a summary over the course of a week. Each log minute-to-minute entry is then expanded and jittered here to show density at each point. And mean values can be calculated, as shown by the red dot here, along with a 95% t-distribution confidence interval that really illustrates the entire affective space that a person inhabits during a week of data collection. And this can be expanded to show how an individual experienced and how their affect moved across multiple weeks. So here we see the entire 3-month period of data collection, and you can see how the mean affective experience that this person had from time to time would shift from week to week. So as we strive to measure what matters, creating robust and flexible tools to measure affect will provide us with deeper insights into the human emotional experience, both for more effective theoretical models, but also to assist individuals in really reflecting on their own affective experience to improve their lives and helping us to understand mental health through new and diverse lenses.